Her story resonates with every woman.
It sounds impossible. The pyramids in Cleopatra feel like they belong to the same ancient world, all sand and pharaohs and gold. Yet the gap between them is so huge that it breaks most people's sense of history. Once the numbers are laid out, the ancient world will never look the same. Stay until the end, because the reason this fact feels so wrong reveals something strange about how the human mind sees the past. Start with the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest and most famous of them, was built around 2,560 years before the modern era began. It was raised by the ancient Egyptians as a tomb for a pharaoh, using methods that still amaze engineers today. By any measure, it is one of the oldest great structures still standing on Earth. Now bring in Cleopatra. She was the last active ruler of ancient Egypt, a queen famous for her intelligence and her ties to powerful leaders of Rome. She died around the year 30 before the modern era. In most people's minds, she sits firmly in the deep ancient past, wrapped up with the same era as the pyramids and the pharaohs who built them. Here's where the math turns everything upside down. The Great Pyramid was finished roughly 2,500 years before Cleopatra was even born. Let that sink in. When Cleopatra walked the halls of her palace, the pyramids were already ancient ruins, older to her than the fall of the Roman Empire is to people today. She was a tourist to that history, not a part of it. So how does the moon landing fit in? Humans first walked on the moon in the year 1969 of the modern era. The distance in time from Cleopatra's death to that moment is just under 2,000 years. The distance from Cleopatra back to the building of the Great Pyramid is around 2,500 years. The pyramids were the more distant past to her than she is to us. Read that again, because it is the heart of the whole thing. Cleopatra is closer to the smartphone, the rocket, and the moon landing than she is to the pharaoh who built the Great Pyramid. The icons we lump together into one blurry ancient Egypt are actually separated by more time than separates us from the Roman world. This raises a fair question. Why does this feel so wrong? The answer says something deep about how people picture history. The human mind tends to squash the distant past into a single flat block. Anything old enough gets filed under ancient times, as if it all happened together. The further back something is, the more the mind flattens it. Think of it from far away, like looking at a mountain range from across a valley. From a distance, all the peaks seem to sit right next to each other, even when miles of land separate them. The past works the same way in the mind. From here, thousands of years back, two events can look neighborly when in truth a vast gulf of time lies between them. That flattening hides just how long ancient Egypt actually lasted. Egyptian civilization did not last a few centuries. It ran for thousands of years, longer than the entire gap between Cleopatra and today. Across that span, the culture rose, changed, faded, and was conquered many times over. The pyramids belonged to its early chapters. Cleopatra belonged to its final ones. There are other facts that twist time the same way. Woolly mammoths still walked the earth while the pyramids stood, since the last of them died out after that construction began. Some universities are older than certain countries. Sharks have existed longer than trees, and longer than the rings of Saturn. Each one snaps the mind out of its flat picture of the past. The real lesson goes beyond a single fun fact. It is a reminder that human history is far deeper and stranger than it feels. The story of people on this planet did not happen in one ancient lump. It unfolded across enormous stretches of time, with thousands of years between events we casually imagine side by side. To really feel the gap, look at how long ancient Egypt lasted. The civilization of the pharaohs ran for roughly 3,000 years. That is longer than the entire stretch from Cleopatra's death all the way to today. Across those thousands of years, dynasties rose and fell, the capital moved, and the culture changed many times over. The pyramids belonged to its early days. Cleopatra belonged to its final chapter, near the very end. Dinosaurs hide the same kind of trick. The Tyrannosaurus rex, the most famous predator of them all, lived closer in time to humans than to the Stegosaurus, the plated dinosaur people often picture beside it. Tens of millions of years separated those two giants. The mind lumps all dinosaurs into one age, yet some are nearer to us than they are to each other. Deep time is far stranger than it looks. The pyramids stretch the point even further. By the time the Roman Empire began, the Great Pyramid was already more than 2,000 years old. Romans visited it the way modern tourists visit the Colosseum, gazing at something far older than their own world. The monument that feels like the very start of history was ancient even to the ancients who came long after it. So why does the brain get this so wrong? People simply have no everyday feel for spans of thousands of years. A lifetime is the longest stretch most minds can truly picture, so anything far beyond that gets squashed into a single fuzzy zone called long ago. The further back an event sits, the more the mind flattens it against everything else that is old, until separate ages blur into one. That is why a fact like this lands with such a jolt. It forces the mind to stretch back open and respect the real distance between events that had quietly stacked together. Once that happens, history stops feeling like a flat painting and starts feeling like a vast, deep canyon. The deeper a person looks, the more time keeps opening up beneath them, far past where it first appeared to end. So the next time the pyramids and Cleopatra appear together in a film, remember that she lived nearer to the glow of a screen than to the hands that stacked those ancient stones, and the gap between them is wider than all of recorded modern history. If facts like this bend your brain, subscribe for more. Like and share the one that surprised you most.